What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Starr from MyMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about The Testament, Season 1, Episode 3. This is part of their initial three-point drop, their three-point plan of assaulting you with testaments at the beginning. The first two episodes were narrated by Agnes, played by Chase Infinity, and the third one is not. It is all from Daisy's perspective. So we learn a little bit more about her, and some of the stuff I'd read online is just not true. So I read that she was Nicole, not Nicole. She is her own individual person, and we see her life up in Canada and what that's like for her. And she's just your average sort of normal quasi-rebellious teen. Her parents run a vintage store where they get sort of like old things and sell it off to people. Seem like good folk. We get to meet them briefly. They she talks about how she did well on a test, and she and Justin, and they're like, oh, there are we now, are you? No, do we need to have the talk? She's like, no, Mom, I don't need to talk. Because she's already having sex. But she doesn't want to tell her parents that. So she goes off to a skate park with Justin and smokes a little weed, and talks about how, she should just tell her parents because they already know it. They just know. And she has this cute relationship with Justin, who I wonder if he will reappear in the series. And he gets her the little transistor radio thing as like a just cuz gift, which is the thing that she's had with her up there, that she's using to listen to the Mayday broadcasts. So she's then going to leave the skate park, and on her way home, tragedy strikes. Cop cars abound outside of her residence/store, and the bodies of her parents are there. Someone has killed them in the time that she was away. So she's still a little stoned, so her reactions to this are not like 100%. I sort of equate her performances to like Bella Ramsey. She feels very Bella Ramsey-esque to me, in a lot of her mannerisms. So she ends up getting taken to the hospital, and she does the whole like verifying that those are her parents. And she's sitting out in the hallway when this dude comes up and he's like, hey, I'm from social services. Do you have any family nearby we need to contact? Or, and she's like, no, I just need my phone. They took my phone. He's like, yeah, we can get you that, but we don't have to stay here. We can go somewhere else. And, yeah, let me work on that, and be back. And so after random dude leaves, in slides in for her second cameo of the season, June Osborne. Elizabeth Moss comes in and rescues Daisy, and is like, you need to come with me now. Come with me if you want to leave. And Daisy's like, what? I'm really high right now. What's happening? So June drags Daisy away and explains to her the situation. So in a long, convoluted way, because Daisy's high and just sort of like refuses to acknowledge things that exist, she finds out that her parents were Mayday, and that she was adopted, that Gilead has been trying to get her back because her parents were from Gilead, and her parents managed to get her across the border, where she was adopted by this lovely Canadian couple. And so Gilead has a vested interest in grabbing her and returning her to Gilead. And the guy is Gilead. He's not actually from social services. So June straight up tells her who she is, uses her name and everything. And obviously Daisy just hasn't heard about June. But she does take her to like a hotel, and so that they can sleep for the night. But Daisy really just wants to go to Justin. She wants a phone. She wants something. She's like, my boyfriend's gonna be worried about me. So of course she predictably sneaks out in the middle of the night. She makes it over to Justin's house. She ends up having to like climb in the window in the most interesting way possible by jumping on like the roof of Justin's parents' car or something, and jumping into Justin's bedroom that way. And they end up, she's just like, just hold me, and then they end up having sex, and she's like, I just want to feel something. I just want to feel normal. And so she stays there. Justin's worried about her, and she ends up leaving because she doesn't want to tell Justin's parents. Actually, Justin's parents never like wake up or come in or anything. And so she leaves, and as she's walking away, who's there but June? June predictably knew where she would be, and takes her in and tells her about Mayday. Takes her to a restaurant and tells her all about her life, and updates her on what Mayday is, and their continued fight against Gilead. So that's part of the story. And then Daisy, we also see her in the present, where she's with Agnes and the rest of the girls. And it's funny because as things are said, sort of like how we would have heard Agnes's thoughts about things, we hear Daisy's thoughts. So it's still all from her perspective. But they're cleaning out a beehive, like getting the honey out of bees. And she's talking about how she used to have honey with her tea. And she's like, not anymore, But they get... a lot of this is set to like a choral arrangement of California Dreaming, which I thought was interesting. But I'm always intrigued by their song choices, because sometimes they mean something. Sometimes you listen to a song and you're like, oh yeah, okay. But the girls are offered an opportunity to go do like a walkthrough and see what it's like for a newish wife running a household with somebody who obviously recently graduated from the program and is married to a commander of some level. And so they go to this, they try to go to this girl's house, but they can't, because they get attacked supposedly by Mayday. And there's a little bit of a kerfuffle that happens there. And we meet again. I clocked it. I mentioned him in the second episode. I wasn't sure if we would need to ever hear from him again, but Garth is apparently somebody we're going to keep track of. He's like a guardian who is the one that Agnes was like quasi flirting with. So so they're in an accident as a result of Mayday, which causes one of the aunts to break her arm, and one of the other girls gets like slightly injured, but she's fine. And then they just like reschedule the event, and so then they end up going back to the house anyway and going inside, and they meet the girl who Becca seems to know, uh, fair, like more out than just just the way that they're warmly greet each other and switch into first names really quickly. So they kind of, run around the house and look at various things and the decor and the stuff that, you know, women, they want women to be excited for in this. And uh, they, what's interesting is that there was a voiceover from uh, a, sort of closer to the beginning from Daisy about how this kind of stuff doesn't happen overnight. How they studied it in school, how Gilead came to be, and it's very much. I was thinking like Margaret Atwood wrote The Testaments in like 2017, and it like clearly has to be reflective of our time period because there's some of the stuff where it's like Daisy's like you know um there were candidates that had strong opinions on gays and women, and people thought it was just hyperbole, and then they were voted into office and it turned out not to be hyperbole. And when you get enough of those people in office, then you get Gilead. Then their policies actually started to take shape, and then suddenly women can't vote, can't drive, can't read books, can't, you know what I'm saying? Like all the rights that have been stripped away from women. And she's like, and then gay people, well, you know what happened to them. And it's very, very ominous. But I mean, not that the series has been kind to gay people throughout the thing, but I thought that was an interesting sort of juxtaposition with just focusing on two people, and you see sort of how the reset has forced the traditional norms back onto these characters as they're excited about, like designing a house and being able to pick out things. And the girl that's going through the house is talking about how she's really excited about, building this nursery, and she's had a little bit of morning sickness. So while she doesn't have an affirmative yes on pregnancy, she's hoping for one. So everything's going golden until we see them sit down and they're talking, and then the commander walks in, and he doesn't seem like he's a mean guy, but he also doesn't seem like he's a fun guy, like casually on the side. He just feels very just sort of like stern, like, thank you for coming to my home. We appreciate you. Just doesn't seem like he'd be a fun time. So, but who knows? I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see this character again. But we then cut to outside, and Daisy has gone up to Garth and is giving Garth the little sketch drawing that she did of the interior, so that'll help Mayday. She also asked him if Mayday was the attack, which leads us to now know that Garth is not really a Guardian, and he's actually Mayday. Except for the fact that when Daisy says, I need to talk to June, he goes, who? So I don't know if she's higher up in Mayday and he just doesn't know who she is, or I can't imagine he'd be bullshitting. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does he have to gain? And obviously Daisy has been led to believe from somewhere that Garth is Mayday. So, and he was the one that was smoking earlier, so he's already sort of bucking against the trends of Gilead. So probably, but Agnes clocks this, and she doesn't seem too happy that they're having this conversation, because from a distance, it looks like, Daisy's having this conversation with, but that's not what's happening. And I think Daisy's the only Pearl that got to go on this trip too, because of her proximity to Agnes. And I think the girls are starting to get a little bit more used to her presence, and Daisy is starting to open up and be a little less overtly pious around them. So, just in their little like quiet exchanges. But yeah, so that's the Testaments episode 3. Still going along, still a good series. If you haven't checked it out, Aunt Lydia didn't really do much this episode. Sort of just focused on the girls. But now we know more about Daisy and her backstory and why she's here. Not fully. We don't know like how much training she has with Mayday and how she actually got plopped into this position. But we do know a little bit more about her. So I think 3Play Media has been doing a good job of the audio description thus far, and I don't really have any concerns or thoughts negatively about the audio description for the Testaments. I think they've handled it really pretty well, and it's not the Handmaid's Tale, but it's its own thing. It's an extension of the Handmaid's Tale, and I don't think it's ever going to have the same effect as June's initial story, which was what the thing that set everything on fire, right? But it'll be interesting to see how the Testaments does work in, and if it can fly even close to the sun, at the end of the day. But good acting so far. I wonder how it'll factor into Emmy season and thinking about all those kind of things. But for right now, that's it. And I'll be back next week with another recap. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.